Hi guys, Zahir Anwari here, co-founder of Sublime Trading, here with your daily update for the UK and US indices for Tuesday, the 7th of April. If you're new to these daily updates, then I recommend starting with the recording that's pinned to the top of our Facebook page so you get an idea of exactly what I go through in these daily updates. Okay, so let's start with the FTSE 100. As always, this is our three-screen setup. We have the monthly in the top left, weekly in the top right, and our daily chart here at the bottom. If we start with the monthly time frame, we can see that price still very much finding support at the low of February 2016. We can see that the month of April is looking bullish. It was bearish, but the bulls have come in and started pushing price up. If you move across to the weekly time frame, if I just open up the weekly time frame, we can see that we've seen bullishness. If we look at this week's candlestick, if I just get the measurement tool, we can see that we've seen a move to the upside of just under 7% so far this week. Now remember, this is intra-week movement rather. We want to see how the candlestick ends the week to really get an idea of confirmed price action, but so far we're seeing bullishness this week. And if we come down to the daily time frame, we can see that price is finding support at that February 2016 level, which is this black line going across the chart. And so far Monday and into Tuesday we are seeing bullishness. If we get a break and close above the high of March, this area here, then we could potentially see strength to the upside. Sorry, this isn't the highest point of March, but this point here, this high point here, if we see a break above this pivot and that 6,000 round number, then we could potentially see further strength to the upside towards the 200 moving average. Ultimately, a break and a close below the low of March will suggest further weakness. At the moment, the market is really just going sideways. Okay, so that's the UK index. Let's move into the US indices, starting with the Dow Jones. We can see that price is now above the low of 2018 in April, and price is now finding an area of resistance at the low of 2019. So if we start seeing price move above this area, then we could potentially see strength back towards the high of last year and the all-time high. If we move across to the weekly time frame, we can see this bullishness coming in. Price is still below the 200 moving average and the 50 simple moving average. If I open up the weekly time frame, we can see strength so far this week. So this is Monday's price action of just over 5%. If we come down to the daily time frame, we can see the low of 2018, which has held strong so far. We've had bullishness, a bit of a move back to the downside based on the 20 simple moving average acting as resistance, but at the start of the week we had a gap through the 20 simple moving average, and that's where that strength came in. So potentially we could see further strength back to the 200 simple moving average. If we move across to the S&P 500, looking at the S&P 500, the S&P 500 is actually finding support at the low of 2019, and we've seen bullishness in April. So potentially again we could see further strength back up towards those all-time highs. On the weekly time frame, this is starting to look interesting. The start of the week has seen bullishness and price closed above the 200 moving average. The 200 moving average is really a strong guidance in terms of the bias. Above, price has a bullish bias, and below, price has a bearish bias. So we can see price temporarily did have a bearish bias, but if we start seeing further strength above the 200 moving average, then this could be an early sign of a revival back to the upside. If we come down to the daily time frame, again very similar to the Dow Jones, we had a gap above the 20 simple moving average. We can see that price closed above this area of resistance, which is currently support. So it'll be interesting to see whether we see strength back to the 200 simple moving average. If we come down to the Nasdaq, the next chart, we can see also bullishness inside the annual levels of last year. So the Nasdaq could lead the way in terms of strength towards those all-time highs. On the weekly time frame, price is already above the 200 moving average. It failed to break through it in this correction, and it's now pushing towards that 50 simple moving average. So if price breaks above the 50 simple moving average, which is currently resistance, then we're likely to see strength towards that all-time high, particularly if we get a break above the 200 simple moving average on the daily time frame. So we can see strength yesterday, again with a gap up, but still below the 200 moving average, which will act as immediate resistance. If we get a break and a close above this level this week, then potentially we could start seeing further strength to the upside. Let's come down to the S&P 500 mini, which gives us an idea of pre-market conditions. Starting with the monthly time frame, we can see that price has found support at the low of last year. We're seeing that bullishness coming in. On the weekly time frame, price now is above the 200 moving average. So if we have a look at price action movement so far this week, we have seen a move of over 10%, almost 11% so far this week. Of course, as already mentioned, we want to see where price closes the week, which will really be a stronger indication of price action in terms of what we could see going forward. At the moment, price is trading above the 200 moving average, so a close above this at the end of the week could suggest strength towards the 50 simple moving average. And if we come down to the daily time frame, we can see strength yesterday, and that momentum has continued so far today. So again, looking for momentum, to see if momentum rather is going to move back towards the 200 moving average, or whether price is going to find an area of resistance and we start seeing we start seeing weakness back to the downside. A break and a close below the low of March will suggest a continuation of the bear trend. Interesting times in terms of where the indices are sat right now. Are we bullish? Are we bearish? Well, we kind of really need the indices to make a move and a clear direction in the market before we can then start looking to invest in any individual stocks. Remember, the indices are just a guidance for overall market conditions. Here at Sublime Trading, we don't invest in the indices. We like to use them as a guide for market conditions, and we then narrow down to the best performing stocks, whether that's bullish or bearish, depending on market conditions. In a bull market, we'll invest in the best performing stocks, the ones that are doing better than the average. In a bear market, we'll invest in the stocks that are weakening quicker than the average. That way we make profit quicker on the best performing instruments. Okay, so that's me for today, guys. Please like, comment, and share this recording. Let's get the message out there, and I will see you on tomorrow's recording.